Hello and welcome once again to a very sunny office here in Zurich. My name is Joe and I'm part of the content team here at On, and welcome to the first in what is going to be hopefully a new series of live broadcasts where we discuss some of the most relevant, thought-provoking, divisive, potentially, subjects from around the world of athletics and sport. With the world's biggest sporting competition just a few weeks away, taking place amid one of the world's biggest pandemics, certainly in my lifetime, that will be the subject of conversation today. I'm delighted to announce that we have not one, not two, but three Olympians on the show this afternoon. We'll be getting their thoughts, their feelings, in regards to the topic. So very exciting stuff. Just for a little bit of scene setting, a recent survey suggests that a majority, potentially as much as 80% of the Japanese public are against the Olympics going ahead. We don't have figures for the athletes, but I'm sure it's nowhere near as high. And of course, the official line is that the Olympics will definitely go ahead. This is a live broadcast, so we would very much welcome any thoughts, feelings, questions for our guests. So please, if you have any questions or you'd like them to discuss anything, please reach out to us in the comment section below. And my colleague Lauren, who'll be joining us a little bit later, will do her absolute best to make sure that we get all of them to our guests. On that subject, without further ado, let's introduce our first speaker. He is a three-time Olympian, a one-time Ironman world record holder, and a man with countless ITU World Cup and Ironman podium appearances to his name. You might know him better as the man with the halo. He is, of course, Tim Don. Tim, are you there?
Hello, how's everyone doing? I'm here. Thank you very much.
We are good. A little bit of technical problems, but we're pushing through. I hear you just come back from Lanzarote. How was that?
Yeah, Lanzarote was good. I was on a warm weather training camp for an Ironman I've got coming up, and hopefully some later in the season. The roads were quiet and the wind was strong and it was nice and warm, so I loved it.
Very nice, very nice. Tim, bear with us while we introduce our next guest. He is another legendary British athlete, I should say. A man who very recently secured his place at the Games with an incredible run at the British Olympic Marathon Trials, with a personal best of 2 hours, 10 minutes and 52 seconds across the marathon distance. Not bad for a 39-year-old, 40 now. I hope he doesn't mind me saying that. He is, of course, Chris Thompson. Chris, are you there?
I am. Sorry, I was struggling to find the unmute button. Hi, thanks for having me. Yeah, Chris Thompson here, getting ready for Tokyo Olympics. Very excited, but obviously far more excited to be talking to you guys right now.
Of course. We expect nothing less. Chris, it'll be your second Olympics, I believe, after 2012, where you're moving up in distance from the 10K to the marathon. Is that right?
Yeah, I was in the 10K at the 2012 Olympics, and now this is the marathon. I've had quite an interesting kind of Olympic journey through the years. You do need a bit of luck on your side when it comes to injuries and stuff, but this will be my second one, and I'm very excited to mix it with people over the marathon. This actually is going to be my first marathon major championship, which is very different to a big city one, so I'm excited to get my teeth stuck into it.
Nice. Very good. We're glad to hear that, of course. And I think maybe it's just worth, for a little bit of context, I said earlier that 80% of the Japanese public are unsure potentially about whether the game should go ahead. But we have a very touching video of Chris qualifying for the Olympics, which I think goes a long way to showing just how much it does mean to the athletes that are involved. I don't know if can we show the video? We're showing the video. So yeah, as you can see, Chris clearly very, very excited there. Maybe Chris, can you just tell us what was going through your mind as you crossed the finish line there?
A heck of a lot. It was. I mean, words can't describe the emotions I felt that day and in that last moment. I mean, the biggest mistake I made was I didn't slow down more to soak up the moment. I mean, that was a special week because I became a dad on the Monday at 2:30 in the morning before the race, and then that race took place on the Friday. And it was, there's not many moments in in life where you have a special moment in life, like the first birth of your first child, and then a sporting moment, one of the best sporting moments you can achieving, second time Olympics and everything that comes with that. To achieve that in the same week, you can't plan for that. You can't prepare for that. You can only ride a wave and try and make it happen. And it was I describe it like an explosion of emotion that day. And that finishing, like, closing video just almost doesn't quite sum it up, because inside I was probably screaming even more. There's a pond behind in the background, and if people weren't there to stop me, I'd have jumped in it. I was just I was on cloud cuckoo. I was on clouds. Quite. So there's a pun for it. Hey, it was a special moment, and I honestly, I'll never forget that. I wish I could bottle it and just dish it out to people, because it was incredible.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's very easy to see. I think, I'm no athlete myself, but I can definitely relate to the emotions, at least. And yeah, almost a dream come true, I would go so far as to say. But I'm very happy to say that Chris is not alone. He's not the only athlete that we have who has already secured his place. Gents, bear with me. I'm going to take the audience through the entire list. And everyone watching around the world, please bear with me. It is a bit of a list. I apologize in advance if I mispronounce anybody's name. So yeah, first up, we have, of course, the Superfrau, Nicola Spirig, and Javi Gomez. He's pretty much a mainstay at any major Olympic or major sporting events these days. Both those people competing in the triathlon distance. We also have Tadesse Abraham, who is, of course, the national marathon record holder here in Switzerland. We have Taklawini Gabiesos, who's also taking part in the marathon. Chris, of course, who's taking part in the marathon. Over a slightly shorter distance, we have Angelina Lohalith and Paolo Lacoro, both taking part in the 1500 meters. We also have Rose Lincolnian, who will be competing in the 800 meters. And another Swiss athlete, we have Ricarda, who you can see there with number 79 on her shirt. Ricarda Dietxe, she will be competing in the 4x100. She'll be joined by Dorian Kelitella, who is also competing in the 100 meters. Jake Riley, a US athlete who is competing in the marathon distance. James Changyek, competing in the 800. Jamal Mohammed, the 5K. And of course, one of our newer athletes, Okpe Rusom, who is taking part in the marathon distance. So I can say it's a new record for on athletes taking part in the Olympics. I'm absolutely delighted to be able to say that. But maybe if I can just bring it back to the two guests that we have on the show today. Today's subject is, of course, the Olympics amid a global pandemic. No fans, no family. Tim, you won't be at the games this year, of course, but just from your own experience, how much do you think that will affect things this summer?
I think in some ways it won't affect the performances. I think the athletes, everyone wants to get back to doing what they love, whether it's going for a pint or a gin and tonic with their family, or actually going out and showing the world what 4 years of training is all about. Some people even longer. So I think that the athletes, once they're in the zone, they'll be there. But everyone's cautious of the current situation. People aren't traveling as much. There's not as much interaction with athletes and athletes. So it is going to be different. And for the community that put the race on, Japan, Tokyo, it's a massive commitment for maybe, 10, 12 years before the games. The planning that goes into it is so commendable that the games have been delayed by 12 months. And the Japanese people, and especially the city of Tokyo, are still willing to prepare and host what is the biggest sporting event in the history of the world. So yeah, I think the athletes will be up for it. I know if I was racing, I'd be doing everything I can to get in tip-top shape. There is that greater situation at large that the whole world is dealing with at the moment. But I think we need to move on together as a global community, and I think the Olympics is a great way to celebrate that.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. I mean, for me, as much as anything else, the Olympics in some way and the fact that it's going to go ahead this year is kind of like a symbol of hope, that things are hopefully going to get better. Hopefully things, are getting better. Chris, maybe if I could just bring you in, no fans, no family, you are going to be competing there. Is that something you think will affect you, or is it more about just, taking part and doing your best to sort of, perform as well as you can?
I think it's going to be certainly unique in a different type of mental prep more than physical. As Tim says, everyone's going to be trying to get themselves into the best shape they can to perform. It will just be a slightly different approach, a little bit more isolated and a little bit more cautious in some ways. And I'm sure people will probably be monitoring their health more so than their fitness at times. But I think for me, it's funny because obviously I'm a new dad. The thing that I'm most conscious of is not being away from home for too long. So, if there wasn't a pandemic, I probably wouldn't be traveling to camps and stuff because I'd want to see my little boy grow up. But I think, so for me personally, it kind of suits me to kind of go in, compete and come back again. But I think overall as an event, I think athletes are looking forward to shining a light on everything that's gone on. And I mean, even with the European Football Championships at the moment, I feel like people are having a glimmer of kind of distraction from everything to kind of enjoy watching sport. And I think the Olympics can do that. And I think the athletes will appreciate being able to compete on a global scale again. I know I can't wait to actually just competing is going to be unique. So I think that the lack of fans and the lack of family will be sad, but at the same time there'll be too much hope and too much positivity to hopefully come out. As long as it's obviously safe for everyone, people of Japan and the athletes and everyone, then it's done in safe, which I'm sure it will be, because it wouldn't go ahead otherwise. So yeah, I think it will be different and unique, but hopefully it can be seen as a massive positive when it's all done and dusted.
No, absolutely. And just on the subject of the Euros, Scotland are playing very soon. I'd like to wish them very well, but I don't want to get in trouble with my producer, so we'll move swiftly on. No, absolutely. And I know that so many athletes have been training, for literally years in this case. There's a 5-year gap rather than the traditional 4-1. So perhaps worth mentioning, it's so much time, so much effort, so much sacrifice. I guess many of the athletes, Tim, will be, very happy that the games are going to go ahead. Is that fair?
Absolutely. I think some athletes won't be because they could have been in the shape of their life last year, and it's a 4-year cycle. And that maybe this year they could have got an injury this winter, which wouldn't have affected the games. Also, the qualification process. So just to get to the Olympics these days, I mean, people forget when they see an Olympic start line, whether it's a heat, a semi-final, a final, or a straight final like a marathon, these are the best of the best. And just to get there, you have to jump through hoops. You sometimes it's harder to qualify for your national team than actually the Olympic Games. And everyone's selection policy has been thrown up in the air because there's a massive delay. They couldn't race a full season last year. Athletes are used to running track and field, marathon, triathlon, tennis, all of these sports, people are used to competing at a certain schedule. So, the adaptability of the athletes has been fantastic. So I think everyone's going to be so hungry on the start line.
Nice. Yeah, true. That's a very good point. You're right. In terms of the uncertainty and will it go ahead? Will it not? One thing, Chris, I'd love to ask you, as you will actually be there. Life in the village will be quite different. I'm told there will be GPS trackers. Athletes are encouraged to not do any high fives or any hugs. I think they're being encouraged to eat, sort of socially distanced, or at least within members of their own team. Is that something that, I don't know, will affect the way that you think about it, or are you going there to perform?
100%. I'm there to perform, but it's like I said before. It will be different and unique in certain ways, like you say about with social distancing and stuff. But I mean, I did an event. I did London Marathon last year in October, and that was my first event from when the pandemic started. And there was a lot of things put in place for that event, where you were wearing a necklace which monitored you were always 2 meters apart from other people, and a lot of tracking, a lot of stuff was going on. And I was surprised how natural it was. I almost appreciated just being around people because for so long I'd been in lockdown. So even if it's in a limited capacity, I think people will see the positives of being around other athletes and soaking that environment. Because I'm a big believer in creating a culture or an environment to bring out the best in you, and whatever that is, sport or business or anything. And just being around other elite athletes all trying to achieve the same thing, in whatever form that be, you will rise to that challenge. and the village will be no different. You'll be inspired. Whatever format the village is in, will go in, and you will feel inspired just to see world-class athletes. I mean, Kipchoge or whoever it might be, or other on athletes. Whoever they are. You get inspired by that, because for so long I've been training for this games in isolation on my own. So just even if it's 2 meters away, it would be nice to see other athletes are looking to do the same thing. And I definitely think, when the gun goes, I'll be a fierce competitor with the rest of them. And I think there will be an opportunity there that whoever keeps their mind the most focused on that race and to perform there could be some exciting performances to come out of the games.
Nice. I'm very, very happy to hear that. No, you're right. It's a fantastic gathering of athletes. I think it's 11,900 or around that number in total that will be descending on Tokyo, on Japan. I think as well worth mentioning, we have almost 80,000. I think a combined total of journalists, staff, and volunteers. So, Tim, you touched on it there. It's an incredible undertaking for Japan, and amid these difficult times, it's fantastic, I guess, to see it's going ahead. On the subject of Japan, I'm delighted to say that we have a roving reporter, Yuka, on the scene, and she's been out speaking to some of the locals there to get their feelings on the Olympics. Yuka, what have you got for us?
Thanks, Joe. And hi, team. This is Yuka from Japan office. Today, I want to talk a little bit about the situation in Japan concerning Tokyo Olympics and COVID. I've asked a few people around what they think about the Tokyo Olympics happening this year and whether they agree with it, why or why not.
So it's unfortunate, but I don't think that we should be hosting the Olympics this year in Tokyo. If you think about it in terms of the economy, I know that Japanese government has heavily invested into the infrastructure. But without the mobility of the attendees and the spectators, I don't believe that there's going to be enough economical upside in terms of hosting the event.
I think that it would have been really amazing to have and host the Olympics here in Tokyo, Japan, being that we're in Japan, and it would have been super cool and super fun to experience all of that and have all the athletes from different countries come and compete in Japan, and just for the world to see what an amazing country Japan is. For me, I think it would be awesome if we could extend and postpone the Olympics at least one more year until maybe the entire country can get vaccinated, until travel restrictions are done. But yeah, I'm still hopeful that they will happen.
Basically, I'm supportive towards the Olympics to be held in Japan, despite all the remaining concerns around COVID situation, especially when I think about all the athletes who trained hard for the past 4 years for this very moment.
Well, that's about it from us in Japan, so I will be passing the mic back to Joe in the studio.
Thank you very much, Yuka. And Chris, Tim, I don't know if you guys can see, but quite mixed reactions, I would say. I mean, definitely some people a little bit wary of the situation, of course, but also must be quite nice to see that people are, very appreciative, if you like, of the efforts that athletes are making, and, looking forward to the games going ahead. Chris, if I could maybe just ask you, is that something that plays on your mind when you're going in, or I not to ask the same thing again, but just more focus on the performances? Are you happy to see that people in Japan are looking forward to the games?
Of course. I think before any games, Olympic Games or any championship, there will be concerns, economic or anything. I know before Rio, there was some local concerns, and I think, and this is another unique scenario, and I think any country trying to host an Olympics at this point would, I think any country would have mixed responses about what they wanted to happen. It's natural, and I completely agree and sympathise. And I think the last thing any athlete would want would be an Olympic Games that isn't safe for anyone in the country or any athlete going in. This has got to be done in the right way, and I think that. It, like I say, it does not surprise me, and I think athletes themselves are sympathetic to any scenario. But an athlete can't make the game safe. An athlete can't make the call. All they can do is focus on their own performance. Like like in any scenario for any championships. It was like the week when I qualified, I couldn't control so much that week. All I could do was control the controllables. It's a cliche, but it's a mantra that most elite athletes will live by. Control what you control, look after your own performance goals and your progression, and let everything around take shape. But as I say, I think every athlete would want this games to be safe and everyone at the end of it, the majority of people, to feel happy it happened, athletes or local people. And I think it's understandable for everyone to feel whatever they feel. And I'm no different. I just want it to be a successful, healthy, happy games if the environment is right.
Absolutely. And I think it's worth saying that is from what I understand, at least all the authorities involved are doing absolutely everything they can. You know, we mentioned some of the, I don't want to use the word restrictions, but some of the guidelines in terms of athletes and stuff in terms of how we can try to contain things as much as possible. Of course, that's a big part of the organization. Just moving on from the streets of Japan to the feeds of Twitter, I'm delighted to say that my colleague Lauren is here to give us a quick update in terms of what people are around the world are thinking. Lauren, how are you doing?
Great, thanks. How are you?
I'm all right. It's tricky doing this, but I'm having fun so far. Have you got an update for us?
I do indeed. People on Twitter are talking a lot about the Olympics. Mike Walker has retweeted that the Tokyo Olympics could allow domestic spectators as COVID cases plummet. We'll have to wait and see what happens on that one. Great. Sports Digest has said that 80% of athletes Tokyo bound are actually already vaccinated. Great news. And Jess, an UK athlete, has said that she's super excited for the 2021 Olympics based on having missed it in 2012 and 2016. I think that touches on, the decade of training it takes to get to this. TOI Sports News has said that, as you mentioned earlier, Joe, the Olympics village will have less mingling, less fun, but it's needed. And in the US Women's Open, Sasso has said that she's super excited for the Olympics. So good to see well-rounded all athletes across the board. And then Chrismo2701 has said, I seriously can't wait for the Olympics next month. I've been deprived for almost 5 years. We feel you.
Absolutely.
And Alex, always, that's such a relatable comment. I can't wait to become the world's biggest swimming fan during the Olympics and then completely forget about it for the next 4 years. What's your take on that, Joe?
Yeah, to be completely honest, I think that's probably pretty relevant. We were talking earlier. I'm always a big fan of the swimming. I think you were saying you like the diving, right?
I'm a fan of diving. I also horse riding, a few different sports that I do enjoy, but definitely do forget about them until the Olympics comes around sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, until the Winter Olympics, of course. Another one I always liked was the hammer. I don't know. I just always thought it was an incredible, I don't know, athleticism. It just looks crazy. But no, thank you very much, Lauren. That's absolutely fantastic. Tim, maybe if I can bring you back in. Pretty cool, I guess, to see that people are, again, mixed reactions, but it seems that there's quite an overwhelming sense of positivity as well. How much does that be on the mind if you were going to the games, to know that there is that sort of positive spirit behind it?
No, I think that's fantastic. I think, on large, the support you get from fans and spectators is amazing. I think in some ways it's good that this has happened towards the end of the pandemic, hopefully, because people are used to the restrictions, whether you're in Japan or whether you're in your home country. Face coverings aren't going to be a surprise. We know to keep our distance. We know to wash our hands. And I think, all the Olympic governing bodies are doing they're planning beyond planning. This will be a military operation from every country. And I think, it's commendable that, the Japanese government are supporting the games. And also, small things, it's very hard to get tickets. So if there are going to be spectators, it is going to be mostly Japanese, if not 100%. So they have got a very unique opportunity to watch some of the greatest athletes to ever walk the planet race. That doesn't, like Tomo, I mean, to watch his form, his fluidity, how he runs, it's just beautiful. So everyone can watch that on television, but the people of Japan can watch Chris in person. And I really hope they can fill some of the stadiums, even if it's only at half capacity.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris, any random events that you find yourself attracted to when the Olympics are going on?
Yeah, like it's funny you mentioned the hammer actually, because Sophie Hitchen, British girl, won that the last Olympics. She won a bronze medal, but she's retired this year, so she's not going to go and try and retain an Olympic medal. I'm like you guys said. I just love seeing just all the different sports. I like the shooting. I like target stuff like that. Like I find Tim's trying to give me things he likes to do. Tennis. I think that was tennis he was trying to mimic. But I do like. Oh, it was like I like there's a lot of the target stuff. The arrows. The arrows.
Yes,
what's it called?
archery. Love
archery.
it,
That's the one. Yeah. I love target stuff like that. It's like an elaborate form of darts. But yeah. Now, do you know what? Because I like the Winter Olympics as well. It's not Winter Olympics is one of those 4 yearly cycle ones. Whereas the summer, I've got a bit more interest in some of the events like track and field through the things. But there is a lot of sports that I like. I'm thinking about diving. Yeah. I really like the technicality of what it's almost like you learn new sports because you're learning the details and the techniques and stuff as these sports come round. And rowing is another one. I mean, the list is endless. I think there's a few new ones coming in. You'll have to correct me. What is it? Breakdancing that's coming in,
and skateboarding as well, I think.
And skateboarding, yeah. So there's a lot. And speed climbing. That's one to watch out for.
Yeah, true. Yeah, absolutely. I love archery. So, that was always one that got me as a kid. I was a big Robin Hood fan growing up, and I absolutely loved the archery. But like you say, some new events to look forward to. I'm going to ask Lauren if have any questions in the comment section for the guys.
We do indeed. Peter is asking Tim, if long distance triathlon was an Olympic discipline, would you be joining Tokyo? And the question was actually twofold. Who do you think will be winning at the Olympic triathlon?
Tim, let's put you on the spot.
I'm all over that. I'll definitely be there in Tokyo. Yeah, who would win? Come on, guys, don't ask a silly question. Jan will probably get injured preparing. Lionel will overtrain and end up in a UFC fight. So it just leaves me. No, I think Ironman would be a great Olympic sport. It's got everything. It makes ITU the Olympic distance. Look at Nicola Spirit. She can win in a 70.3 or an Olympic distance. So I say, bring Ironman triathlon to the Olympic Games. I'll be all over that.
Nice. Fantastic. Any other questions, Lauren?
Yeah, maybe this one for Chris. Has training changed this year's Olympics? And how do you feel not having been able to train in the same way?
Training, one of the two biggest things that have changed in my training is I've only recently been able to get back on a track. So I've been doing a lot of my training off track, which is unusual for me. But that's not too bad. You can kind of replicate that. And the second thing that's changed for me is my strength and conditioning involves carrying my son and just doing squats with him and lunges around the house. So I've tried to incorporate sort of looking after him with getting stronger. So my backs and glute, how many have I got? My back and glute is getting quite strong at the moment just through lifting. I'm right hand, so my left shoulder is constantly on here as well. So I've tried to incorporate life into training, and it's actually been quite good fun actually. So there's a lot of aches and pains that have changed, and lots of little things I've had to adapt to. But so far, Theo, my boy, has been very much part of my training regime.
Nice. And I guess progressive overload, right? I'm sure he's getting bigger and bigger every day, so heavier and heavier. Have to adapt. I love to hear that. Okay, fantastic. Thanks, Lauren. Maybe we'll come back to you at the end of the show. Anyone watching, if you do have any questions or any input for the guys, we'd love to hear it. And we'll be giving away a pair of On Running performance shoes to at least 2 people who comment. So a little bit of incentive for you. Moving on from the Future Japan, the tweets of the world to the good old USA. Another former Olympian, and probably the closest thing we have on the On team as a direct line of communication with our athletes, Andy Wheating. He's got a package for us in terms of how our athletes stateside are preparing and who has a chance when the Olympic trials go ahead later this week. Andy?
there are 7 On athletes competing for a chance to represent Team USA in the Olympic Games. From the On Athletics Club, Joe Kleckers qualified in the 5K and 10K, Alicia Monson in the 5K and 10K as well, and Leah Fallon in the 3K steeple. It's worth mentioning these 3 athletes already have their Olympic A standard, so they will just have to be top 3 in their event, and they'll be able to go to the Olympics. Emily Oren, also the OAC, is competing in a 3K steeple, but she does not have her Olympic A standard. Therefore, she will have to run fast enough and be top 3 in order to be qualified for the Olympic Games. Also competing is Shari Hawkins in the heptathlon. She has her standard, just has to be top 3. Chloe Abbott in the 400 meters has her standard, just needs to be top 3. And Reed Buchanan in the 10,000 meters. He does not have his standard and will need to run fast enough and be top 3. U.S. Olympic marathoner Jake Riley is already qualified and has punched his ticket to Tokyo. Having chatted with him earlier, he's thrilled to be qualified, but at the same time disappointed that there won't be fans, friends, and family admitted into the event. And talking furthermore, like we both agree that it's the Olympic Games, and in this sport, you're either Olympian or you're not. And for me personally, when you tell someone, hey, I was a professional runner, the first question is always, have you been to the Olympics? And it's disheartening because no matter how fast you've run in your past, the answer to that is, if it's no, suddenly you may have lost a bit of your audience there. So yes, Olympian means a lot for what all these athletes are training for. It's the pinnacle. So to ask to potentially forfeit this Olympic Games would mean another 4 years of training, which would mean about 8 years of committed to this sport, almost a decade of someone's life to become or for a shot at being titled Olympian. So I know for me personally, and I could probably speak for most of these athletes, but pandemic or not, I think Olympics, these athletes will want a shot to do that, and they will go to the Olympics if they get that opportunity. So that's the rundown on the U.S. athletes. We've got our fingers crossed that everything goes through smoothly, and there's good chances across the board that we see a few more On athletes punch their ticket to Tokyo. Best of luck to Chris Thompson, who's already hit his standards, and hey, tip of the hat to Tim for everything he's done.
Awesome stuff. Thank you very much, Andy. Chris, maybe I'd just like to quickly ask you just on some things Andy has mentioned there. When it comes to the world of professional sports, and then maybe in particular running, you're either an Olympian or you're not. Is that a pretty fair assessment?
I mean, it's a real tough one because again, especially because I was a teammate with Andrew when I was based in America for a while, and so I got to witness firsthand how tough making an Olympic team in America is. Yeah. I mean, the depth over there is, for every event, it's a real cutthroat system, and they have first 3 past the post, and it's all or nothing on that particular day. Whereas in the UK, we have first 2 and then an optional third, which can be selectors' discretion. And so I definitely think that seeing the intensity around trying to make that team every 4 years, and Tim actually touched upon it earlier, how sometimes making the team is more stressful and harder than the actual Olympics themselves in so many ways for a lot of athletes. And I think you definitely grow an inch or 2 when you have that Olympic title held above next to your name. And I think that those inches grow as you go to more. And part for me, to go to 2 is a fantastic feeling. My wife has been to 1 as well. But certainly, the fuss that's made over athletes making it is rightly so. And I think it's something that athletes sometimes don't realize how proud of a moment it can be until you've actually achieved it and you realize, hang on, this feels good and this feels amazing and I want to do it again and again and again.
Nice, yeah. As someone who has 0 chance ever of going to the Olympics, I can only sort of say, yeah, I can imagine that would be true. I know so many of them have, tattoos and sort of this, to commemorate the sort of thing. So, no, absolutely. I don't know, like I said earlier, almost a dream come true in some ways. If I could put in a quick shameless plug of our latest product that a lot of our athletes, will be wearing at the games this summer. The Cloudboom Echo is, of course, the next evolution of our original marathon shoe, something that both Tim and Chris have put input in terms of how we can make it faster, make it better, more kick. And like I say, it's almost like our super shoe, I think is how we're describing it. We've conducted extensive tests with our athletes and also externally, and I'm very happy to say that it's our most efficient, highest performing shoe ever, actually, in our relatively young history here at On. Even happier to say that we have a cheeky little sneak peek. Bear with us, this is not 100% ready, but it should hopefully give you a bit of insight into the stuff going on behind the scenes to bring this shoe to you.
When you're designing a shoe for the world's best athletes, everything is a challenge. The input from our athletes really shape our shoes.
With us, it's actually an interaction, it's a dialogue, and they're super crucial in helping us make the product even better.
There has been a lot of late nights. We have worked a lot on this shoe. We have gone further than we have ever gone, and I think this shoe will also take our athletes further than they have ever been.
As you can see, still very much a work in progress, but I promise you it'll be worth the wait. We're all very, very excited about this shoe. In fact, you can actually see a couple of people that we've already mentioned in today's show. We see Jake Riley, we see Tadesse Abraham, two fantastic marathoners. And we wish them, of course, Chris, all the best going forward in the sports. Lauren, I'd like to welcome Lauren quickly back. Do we have any final questions or comments for Chris and Tim?
We do have one comment, not a question, but my projection, On will have more athletes at the Olympic Games than any other pro team. Nice comment.
Ooh, I would love to provide some kind of comment on that, but I'm not entirely sure that it's true. So I'm going to stay away from it. But
we love the love.
We love the love, yeah.
And a question for Tim. How is recovery? Are you fully recovered? How is your training since the accident?
From the man with the halo.
Yes.
Tim, how's the neck?
It's good now. My chair now swivels, so I don't have to turn my head. No. I mean, any major accident, there's always going to be, lingering issues. On the whole, we're on top of them. A lot more rehab and conditioning I have to do now on a daily basis. I'm not sure if it's my broken neck or just my old age, but no, I'm definitely, I would say in the last 6 weeks, I'm definitely kind of getting as fit as I was in 2017 before I broke it. So, it's like anything. It's the management of the issue and controlling what you can control. So, I'm very lucky that I've got a great support network around me. So, I'll definitely be I'll be racing in a couple of weeks' time at Ironman UK, and hopefully I'll be able to, I'm really excited as well to race in the new shoe. I've done some training in it, and as you say, it's definitely the fastest On shoe I've ever ran in, and I've been running in them for nearly a decade now. So super pumped about that.
Love to hear that. And just for the record, we did not ask him to say that. I'm going to go on record saying that. No, fantastic stuff. And just in case anyone is unaware, Tim, he kind of mentioned it there. He broke his neck in a traffic accident going into Kona a few years back. If you haven't already, again, another shameless plug, I'm sorry, but you should really check out the documentary, The Man with the Halo. It's a fantastic look at Tim's recovery process and trying to get back to full health following what was a pretty nasty injury. Honestly, I think that's more or less it. Lauren, do we have any final comments?
The comments are all just a lot of love, a lot of excitement around how many athletes we have going to the Olympics, and also some questions, of course, always about when we will be able to see Roger on court again. Watch him at Wimbledon, I hope. But otherwise, that's all from the comments section.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And Tim, Chris, can't say enough how much we appreciate you guys being part of the first On Live broadcast. It's been fantastic speaking to you and getting your input. It's Chris, all the best for the summer. Tim, I don't know, good luck for the Ironman UK. And like I say, we cannot stress how much we appreciate this. So thanks for being a first part of the broadcast. As I've said, guys, that more or less wraps up things for us here. As I said at the start of the show, this is just sort of like a test, a prototype, if you will. We would love to hear your feedback in terms of how we can A, improve it, or B, the kinds of subjects that we can cover. So please reach out to us on any of our social channels. We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, all the usual stuff. I would say smash the like button just because I want to say it on a YouTube live. But if you haven't already, please do. stay up to date with all of the latest happenings at On. And yeah,
Thanks
that about
for
wraps it
joining
up.
us.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.